Alright guys, today our topic is gonna be about the nervous system. The headlines or the highlights about the nervous system that I'm gonna cover in this video is basically the classification of your nervous system. Its classification, and then we're gonna give a little bit introduction about each of the classification of your nervous system. Well, the nervous system. Nervous system, as you all know, is a very important system of our body. If there was no nervous system, our body would not be able to even pick a single pen. So it is because of this nervous system that we are able to move, we are able to pick up things, or we are able to hear, understand our things. If there was no brain, there was no spinal cord, there was no nervous system, we would not be able to understand simple ABC. So now, as being medical doctors, we are going to study a little bit detailed about the nervous system as compared to our high school classes. The nervous system, let's start. First of all, we are going to start with the classification of nervous system that I've shown you with this flow chart. There is this nervous system. Nervous system is divided into three types. You have a central nervous system, you have a peripheral nervous system, and you have an autonomic nervous system. The central nervous system is consisting of your brain and the spinal cord. So brain and spinal cord together, they form the nervous system known as the central nervous system. Then you have the nervous system which are consisting of your nerves. The cranial nerves, which are the nerves carrying the impulses to the brain and from the brain to our body, and the spinal nerves carrying impulses from body to spinal cord and then back to body. These two nerves, cranial and spinal nerve, they together form the nervous system known as the peripheral nervous system. Then you have another third type of nervous system, that is the autonomic nervous system. It is comprising of controlling all those organs which are under involuntary control, like our GIT, our stomach, our heart, our viscera, etc. That is under the control of autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is further subdivided into sympathetic and parasympathetic. When our body is like in stress, in emergency, in flight or fright condition, then the nervous system stimulated is the sympathetic. When you're relaxed, you're chill, you're enjoying, then the nervous system that is stimulated is the parasympathetic nervous system. So that was about a touch to the classification of the nervous system. Now we will give a little bit of introduction of each of the nervous system. Starting with the most important nervous system, that is the central nervous system. The central nervous system, I've drawn diagrams, but they're not like the best diagrams. Like, I'm not so great in diagrams, but I still tried my best to give you guys a little bit idea of able to you guys to understand and pick up the points. Because if you understand with the diagram, it will be very much helpful for you to understand neuroanatomy as well. All right, now let's start with our central nervous system. Well, the central nervous system, as I've already told you here in the flow chart, that is comprising of your brain. This is my brain, and this is the spinal cord. The function of this brain and spinal cord is what? Basically, whenever you have impulses, like for example, like this pen. Right now, if I want to hold this pen, so the impulses will be generated from this pen to my hand all the way to my brain, right? And then from the brain, we'll go back to my hand to either write from it or circle it or that. So its basic function is your correlation, a sequence of events to take place that is done by the brain and your spinal cord, together forming the central nervous system. Now this brain and spinal cord, it should be protected as well because they are very important structures and they have to be protected by some means. Now in our human body, we see that the brain and spinal cord, they are present like in our mid region of our body. So in front, your brain is in the upper part region. So here, these are type of the bones I've shown, bones of the head, which are surrounding and protecting your brain. Then you have the long backbone known as the vertebral column, which will extend from this brain lower part all the way to the spinal cord. So these two are playing an important protection function for your brain and spinal cord. Then we will study about that these brain and the spinal cord, they are having a coverings, like they're covered by three layers. These coverings are called as meninges, which are same for both brain as well as your spinal cord. The outermost covering of the brain and spinal cord, that is known as the thick dura mater. Then the middle one is called as the arachnoid mater, and the innermost, deepest membrane covering of brain and spinal cord is known as the pia mater. Right now, it's just an introduction. We will study in detail everything about this. Then we have that this brain and spinal cord, they should, if there is no fluid, they will obviously not function. They will need some lubrication movement as well. So for that, the fluid that is present for brain and spinal cord, that is known as the cerebrospinal fluid. Then that was about this figure. Basically what this figure is showing, consisting of brain, you have a spinal cord protected by the bones of your head and your vertebral column. You have the three covering layers of membranes known as meninges, outer dura, inner arachnoid, innermost pia mater. And the fluid that is the cerebrospinal fluid. Now coming to the functional unit of the nervous system, which is shown in my figure number 2. Here you're showing that the functional unit of the nervous system is a star-shaped structure called as your neuron, which is an excitable cell. It is consisting of your cell body. You have these axons or your neuron fibers, and the non-excitable parts which are surrounding these neurons, those are called as your neuroglial cells. Then we have the so this was basically about an overview about what the central nervous system is comprising of. What was the meninges, what was neuron, what is axon, what are neuron fibers, what is your neuroglia. Now coming to a little bit internal view, like when you want to see inside the cell, like if I want, this is a pen, I want to see what is inside it, so I will open it to see what is inside. We will come to know like, oh, it has this pointer, this. Same is the case with our nervous system, that now we want to see the inside of the nervous system. Well, coming to the internal view, we have that it consists of a gray matter and a white matter. Obviously, you will be shown in your atlases as well that the outside of the brain is gray in color, and when you see inside, it is basically white in color. Basically, why is that so? That the outside of brain is gray, but when you see the outside of spinal cord, it is white. Why is that so? Well, the answer to that question is shown right now. Basically, that here you see these impulses, they have to be generated from the body to the brain. So obviously those have to be the excitable cells. So those excitable cells, when they go to the body, they do not reach the inside of the brain. They will go and reach the outside of the brain, as a result making the outside of the brain your gray. And inside, which is not so much usable, they are consisting of the axon terminals, making it the white matter. Right? Then these axons they will now go from the brain and they will then unite with the spinal cord, making the inside of the spinal cord gray and that of the outside white. So you will say that because here your neuron cells, they have to be directly terminated from the body to the brain, making the outside of the brain gray matter, but on the spinal cord, they are generating from within the brain to the inside of the spinal cord, thus making the inside of the spinal cord gray and not the outside of the spinal cord gray. So that was about your gray matter and your white matter in review to brain and spinal cord. And that is how the introduction to the central nervous system is done. Coming to the second type of nervous system, that is the peripheral nervous system. Well, we know that the peripheral nervous system consists of your nerves, cranial and spinal nerve. I'll give you an example. Like this is our body. See this figure, this one. Here you have a body. Take any part of the body, for example, my hand or your guys' hands, right? Now, if I put this pen, like for example, this is the pen and I put it on my finger. Now, obviously the impulse will be generated to go to the central nervous system. And when the central nervous system, my brain or my spinal cord is going to read that, okay, I have to write with this pen, it will then send the impulses back to the body for the muscles or either secretions to be done by the glands to perform the desired result. So this pathway of conducting the impulses towards the central nervous system and from the central nervous system back to the body, these afferent and efferent nerves, they together constitute a nervous system called as your peripheral nervous system. Then you have the third type of nervous system, the autonomic nervous system. It is basically taking action in those organs of the body which are involuntary, like our viscera, our stomach, our heart. In that, the nervous system that is stimulated is the autonomic nervous system. It is divided into two, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Now, let me give you an example to basically help you understand what is sympathetic and what is parasympathetic. As you have studied in high school classes, that sympathetic is basically activated in your emergency conditions, in your flight and fright conditions. And parasympathetic is basically to have the opposite effect of sympathetic, like to relax or decrease it. Now, obviously, when there's exam, or do not, let's say about exam, when you have a result day. You gave your exam and now it's result day. And so you get stressed out at, oh my God, the result is gonna come. What is gonna happen? You get to freak out a little bit at what if I pass, what if I fail. At that time, the nervous system that is stimulated is your sympathetic nervous system because you're in stress, you're in tension. Then when your result comes, you get good grades, you pass with great numbers, you come happy and you become relaxed. That time when the nervous system which is stimulated when you get great marks in your exams is your parasympathetic nervous system. So that was all about the introduction about the nervous system divided into three parts. Then we studied a little bit about what each part is about. And that is just an introduction to your neuroanatomy, just to make a little bit of a base for your neuroanatomy. Then we are going to study one by one each and everything in detail. So I hope this video will help you guys. If you have any problems, leave below in the comments below so I can improve my video and make your problems be solved. Thank you guys.